Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, so you know the feeling, right? Your schedule is absolutely packed, your mind is just racing. You're bouncing from one task to the very next, maybe agonizing over some tiny mistake you made yesterday and simultaneously stressing out about a deadline tomorrow. It literally feels like you're running a marathon entirely inside your own head. Well, let's just slow down for a second. Take a breath, because today we're unpacking this incredible, timeless story that hits the nail right on the head when it comes to the modern epidemic of overthinking.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever actually stopped to notice that? You could just be sitting on your super comfortable couch, totally safe, everything on paper, looks absolutely fine. And yet your brain just flat out refuses to shut off. No way, right? You wake up already worrying. You spend half the day comparing your life to people who just seem, happier. We're all constantly chasing the sense of calm, but the harder we run after it, the further away it seems to get.
Section 1. The burden of overthinking and that constant noise inside our minds.
So the core issue our source material highlights isn't that the world is too noisy, it's that our minds are. Society basically sells us this one specific formula for peace, right? Physical success. We hustle for the money, we upgrade to the bigger house, we grind for influence and status, thinking, hey, if I just get that one thing, I'll finally be able to relax. But look at the mental state of so many people who actually achieve all of that. It's wild. They still feel totally empty. They're stressed to the absolute breaking point, and that internal noise, it just never stops. And this brings us to an old man named Alexander who beautifully dismantles this exact trap.
Moving into Section 2, the weight of the stone. This is Alexander's first lesson.
Picture this, ancient, quiet village. A searching traveler named Ethan finally tracks down Alexander, this old man who just radiated this quiet, totally unshakable peace. Now, Ethan had met incredibly rich merchants, really powerful leaders, but none of them had this kind of calm. When he asked for the secret, Alexander simply told him to hold out his arm with a small stone in his hand. After 1 minute, totally fine. Holding a worry for a minute actually helps us learn from it. But Alexander made him keep holding it. After 15 minutes, Ethan's arm started to shake. It really hurt. But wait, did the stones suddenly get heavier? Actually, no. It hurt because he held it way too long. And this brilliantly illustrates the point. If you hold it for years, it will slowly, literally destroy you. Our worries are exactly like that little stone. Alexander left Ethan with this profound realization. He said, most people are not suffering because life is difficult. They are suffering because they refuse to put the stone down. Let's just pause on that. It really makes you wonder, what is the stone that you are refusing to put down today? Is it like a mistake at work, a weird comment someone made last Tuesday, or just massive anxiety about next month? We suffer because we're gripping it so tightly, not because the stone itself is somehow unmanageable.
Section 3. Expanding the mind. Let's look at the lake and the soil.
Now, Ethan pushed back. He argued that just putting it down sounds way too simple, right? We can't just flip a switch in our brains and magically stop worrying. Alexander actually agreed. So they took a walk into the forest to this beautiful, crystal clear lake to prove a point. Alexander grabbed a handful of dry soil and dropped it right into a small wooden cup of water. Instantly, bam, it's muddy, it's cloudy, totally undrinkable. But then he took that exact same amount of dirt and threw it into the massive, pristine lake. Within seconds, the soil just vanished and the lake was as perfectly clear as before. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that the core takeaway is all about the size of the container. Think about it. The problem was never the soil itself. That soil just represents our daily stress, our problems, the inevitable setbacks. The real issue is the capacity of our mind. When your mental container is really small and restricted, every tiny little bit of dirt is going to cloud up your entire life. But if you actively enlarge your perspective, through patience, kindness, and gratitude, those exact same problems just completely lose their power over you.
All right, Section 4, the illusion of control. Enter Victor the merchant.
So before sunrise, the very next day, this unexpected visitor shows up looking totally exhausted. This is Victor. He's one of the absolute richest merchants in the whole kingdom, but he represents this really tragic paradox. His business is booming, his wealth is multiplying, he's got the expensive clothes and the literal bags of gold. But you know what else he has? Zero sleep. His peace is completely disappearing. He basically told Alexander, look, my money keeps going up, but my peace keeps going down. Victor had literally everything the modern world tells us we need to chase, but he was completely broken by his fear of tomorrow. Contrast that with Alexander, right? A guy who owns absolutely nothing, but is completely whole.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because Alexander didn't hand him some complex 5-step business strategy. He just pointed to a dry leaf falling from a tree. He showed how the leaf falls, it doesn't fight the wind at all, and it simply rests gently on the ground. People lose their peace because they desperately, frantically try to control everything. We want life to happen exactly the way we sketched it out in our heads. We fight the wind, instead of just accepting that life might, write a slightly different ending.
And this led to a golden rule for the wealthy merchant. Work with your hands. Do not carry your work inside your heart. Wow, that is such a striking reminder for us today. Are you carrying your job and all those daily stresses inside your heart? We can definitely earn a living, make big plans, and strive for success, absolutely. But we shouldn't let our jobs, our sales targets, or our overflowing inboxes literally own our minds. Make your plans for sure, but please don't carry the heavy weight of everything you can't control right there inside your chest.
Section 5. Alexander's final secret and the ultimate realization.
So time passed. Ethan stayed with Alexander, and after watching the master for years, he finally asked him for his greatest ultimate secret to life. Alexander looked out toward the setting sun, and he shared this. He said, "When I was young, I wanted to change the whole world. When I became older, I wanted to change the people around me. When I became old, I realized the only person I truly needed to change was myself." He explained to Ethan that he had wasted so many years fighting against things he had absolutely zero control over. But the very day he stopped fighting life and simply accepted it, that's the day peace walked right into his heart.
A few months later, Alexander grew very weak. The entire village gathered around him, including Ethan and even the merchant, Victor. In his final moments, Alexander just pointed out the window at the wind moving through the trees, the birds singing, and he whispered, "Life has always been peaceful. We were simply too busy to notice." When he finally passed, the room wasn't filled with loud crying or despair. Instead, it was filled with this profound, overwhelming sense of gratitude.
Which brings us to Section 6, choosing your response. This is our final takeaway. So, the crucial point is this. Years later, Ethan himself grew old, and he sat under that exact same oak tree teaching this exact same lesson. Because as people kept visiting him, looking for some magical cure for their stress, they eventually realized the truth. Peace isn't hiding inside a new house or waiting for you after a promotion. It doesn't magically arrive when you solve every single problem in your life. It arrives the second you stop giving those problems permission to control you. Look, we absolutely cannot control what people say, we can't rewrite the past, and we definitely can't manage every single future outcome. But we have total, absolute control over our response. We can consciously choose gratitude over toxic comparison. We can choose forgiveness over old pain. Ultimately, a calm mind is just going to make vastly better decisions than a worried one.
I want to leave you with this final, lingering, and really provocative thought. What is the stone that you will choose to let go of today? Because you literally have the power to just put it down. Let me know in the comments what actually brought you some peace today. Take care of your mind, keep choosing to expand your container, and I will see you in the next explainer.